The ideas in this episode will challenge your beliefs, but I encourage you to listen with an open mind. Whether you interpret some of these concepts as energy, divine intervention, or even magic, these tools are accessible to anyone ready to embrace and apply them.
What Lao Tzu discovered was something which blew me away. He could treat people without even touching them. He could be at a distance of 5 feet and drive energy from his fingers, from his palm, or even just think about it. You could see wounds start to close right there. He shows us another exercise where you're supposed to be able to take your fingers and be able to move them all the way back and touch your wrist. So he took my finger with the energy and turned it all the way back here.
So you broke your finger right in front of
Right in front of me, right in front of everybody.
There's a famous scene in Doctor Strange where his hand is broken and then the master in Doctor Strange just heals his hand right there. Have you personally directly experienced something like that?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
You're listening to The Human Upgrade with Dave Asprey.
Today's episode is filmed in studios here in Austin, Texas, and it is with a dear friend of more than a decade and one of 9 living grandmasters of an ancient lineage of Lao Tzu. If you've ever seen the movie Doctor Strange, this is a real-life living Doctor Strange. And I'm not saying that because of any kind of weird marketing. He's a top surgeon, gastroenterologist from UCLA for more than 30 years, who just so happened to make many, many pilgrimages to China. First, to learn herbs and acupuncture, until one day, he's the only white guy ever to go to a monastery that's been running for 5,000 plus years. I'm not making any of this up. We've had many, many meals together. I've studied with Barry. And there's no bullshit you're going to hear in this. It's kind of hard to believe, to be honest. But hey, biohacking, you want to be superhuman? Anytime you start, I just want to lose weight. I just wanted to fix something. You are going to inevitably fix the things that are a problem. You're going to get your energy back. And then you're going to say, wow, I really want to be happy. I want to be conscious. And that means I want to live a very, very long time. So you will get into personal development and longevity, no matter how I hooked you with all the different ways you can come in to the biohacking movement, because it's for you. And you have your priorities, and they're probably different than mine when I started. Whatever they are, I know you're going to end up wanting that consciousness piece. Dr. Barry is a modern day guru. He's worked with presidents. He's worked with some of the most successful people on the planet. You'll see him backstage with leaders in personal development doing his stuff. And you may be saying, seriously, Dave? Yeah, seriously. These guys have been protecting the emperors of China for 5,000 years. They probably learned a thing or two. And my ego's not so big that I can't also learn a thing or two. And I invite you to listen to the story, to see what you think and how you feel about this. It's pretty mind-blowing, and Dr. B is the real deal. Dr. B.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to call you Barry. I always call you Barry because we're friends.
That's right. You can call me Barry.
Right. I'm going to interview as Dr. B because everyone calls you Dr. B, but I always call you Barry. All right. Dr. B,
Yes.
welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Seriously, Dr. Strange?
Yes.
I kind of blew you up there. Was I exaggerating?
No, you kept it down.
Tell me, why you? Why did you decide to do this?
The really exciting part of when I look back on how I ended up being able to learn how to break a rock with just energy, or be able to do a lot of these feats that you see have become popular in some kung fu type of presentations, was that I originally just wanted to say, what could I do with a contribution for humanity? So I majored in anthropology, and then I went into medicine. And while I was in medicine, I got excited about surgery. And then in surgery, I had some great research, which ended up in my discovering a new disease. And then I went out into private practice, and everything was wonderful. So like most people say, well, you've already accomplished the life dream.
You're still a young man at the time.
Yeah. I started very early. I started college courses in 6th grade. So there was, I was sort of noted as we were put in a special class for my whole junior high school. And of course, that allowed me to learn even more all the time, which kept my fascination going. And so when I saw that it was great to be able to treat people with gastroenterology, which I eventually ended up into after going through trauma surgery, and saying, no, I want something that we can work the everyday person with, that I saw that we could do this with outpatient. We could get people well. They could take care of themselves quite a bit. After with these endoscopes, we were able to remove things and laser them. But still, what I noticed was that I was making rounds continuously. I was seeing patients on the floor, then running back to my office, then going down to the emergency room, then up to the intensive care unit. And this was my 7 days a week. And I was only in practice by 4 or 5 years. I was going, I see the future here. There's too many sick people. So I didn't have an answer yet what to do. But then there was that day, which I think you know about, which is that I was this on Saturday afternoon, which is usually for docs one of our best days because we try to discharge everybody by Saturday and usually save your best patient for last so that you at least leave on a high. And so I went into this one lady's room who I knew very well and her family, Mrs. Rodriguez. And so she's in her bed sitting there and I said, you get to go home. I stand at the doorwell, like back here, right? Because I figured there's nothing to say. We took the tumor out. It's fine. You got no bleeding. Everything's ready to go. You can eat whatever you want. Go start cooking for your family tonight. And instead of her applauding and being happy, which she's the kind of person I've known her to be in the past, she went like this on her bed, tap, 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 like your grandmother does. Tap, 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 come here, sit. So to get a doctor to sit is another miracle, right? Most doctors keep standing, they keep moving. So as a Western medical doctor, a surgeon, I was like going, okay, I'll sit. What does he want to talk about? She goes, do you know that I love the fact that you saw me and you got the diagnosis right away? That was fantastic. And you fixed it. But do you know how many months I went through as far as pain? Do you know how many doctors' offices I sat in and they still didn't know what was wrong? And then they said I didn't get approved by this insurance, or I didn't get approved by this doctor because he didn't know how to treat this specific kind of problem because it was an unusual kind of tumor. So I said, well, tell me about it. So she said, it was very, very frustrating, aggravating. Plus, I lost a lot of income because I had to take off from my job and I couldn't take care of my family. And I just wished it didn't take so long to have reached you, this many months. And I don't know if anybody else out there has ever had this experience, but it could be any day. It could be even today, when all of a sudden you sort of had that ethereal experience. The sun was coming through the window while I was sitting on her bed, and I looked and I said, Mrs. Rodriguez, in my opinion, seeing so many sick people all the time, I wish nobody got sick. I wish everybody could be their own doctor. I wish each person knew how to get themselves well all the time. Because I think that God, Mother Nature, the universe, the source energy of all that is, has got it set up in so many ways for us to be able to heal ourselves, which we do all the time, and to keep ourselves healthy. And so I thought that'd be the end of the conversation. So then she turns to me and she says, Dr. Berry, if anybody can do it, you can do it. Go find it. So I said, okay, I'm going to go keep looking, because I was still a young guy then, and I was looking for something that didn't exist. So all the surgeons in my building would say, you're going to take off again for another 2 weeks and visit another part of the world to find out what they've got. You're crazy. You're already at the top of your field. You're lucky you're the head of the department. Otherwise, they think you're a quack.
So you're the head of your practice at a hospital. And you're leaving 2 weeks at a time to explore the world for magical healing powers.
Right. About every threat. And you have to understand, when I did this, there wasn't anything in LA that was alternative. We didn't have Whole Foods. We had Mrs. Gooch's. We didn't have Starbucks coffee or anything, or Danger coffee. We had Winchell's coffee.
I remember Winchell's.
Yeah. So it was dry dock. So everybody thought that, you're just imaginary. And we didn't even have acupuncture then. It was considered woo. So I went around and traveled I made it my goal, as I'm sure a lot of people out there listening have had those moments where we went, the world deserves this particular thing and I can do it. And if I can't do it, I want to try at least to have my life go for it and see if I can find it, because it would be meaningful to me and other people. And I went and learned everything about water therapy, crystal therapy, traveled all over the U.S., worked with the Native Americans, went North Pole, South Pole, South America, even became a shaman for a while. It didn't look like this at those times.
You had like ponytails. Huh?
Yeah, I had long hair, with makeup on. Yeah, I know.
Do you have any pictures?
Yes.
Are you going to send me one I can post?
Okay. But
You gotta cut that in.
when you see that, you're going to go, gosh.
I'll swap you for one of my fat pictures. It's all good.
Okay, there you go. All
right.
Okay, and so every one of these places I learned a lot. Let's talk about Brazil and South America and Ecuador and all those places. I went there when it wasn't even popular to go there to see things, what's happening. So let's talk about plant-based medicine. It wasn't like plant-based medicine, you get a little thing in a possible tiny capsule. It was this big leaf that we burned and we all breathed it, and I said, I can't take this back to UCLA or any other hospital. It's going to blow off the smoke machines. You'll never get it through the IRB. It's not purified. And yes, it definitely had an effect. You would have this, like all the plant-based medicines now that people are enjoying, that, you get it up, you get a period, and then there's a down afterwards. And then you're not really more fortified going forward after having this experience. You aren't turned into the next coming of the Messiah after that. You haven't also realized
the goal, isn't it?
Well, you haven't realized all your goals of getting over your rheumatoid arthritis or getting over your constant recurrent migraine headaches or whatever people are down there for. So
you don't think you're the next coming of the Messiah?
No, I don't. No, no. I think that
I've known you for a long time. That was surprised.
I think that each person is connected to what they were given at birth to manifest, and they take very, 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 very little access to it, even though they spend a lot of time running, as we've all discussed, like running on a treadmill. Most people feel like they're running on a treadmill, and that's because deep in your heart that there's something else out there that would make it make sense working so hard. So I traveled throughout Europe, and the reason I was able to go to each one of these cities, like in London and Paris and other places, was I would work in the hospitals. And at that time in California and UCLA, we were like ahead as far as endoscopic surgery. So they were real interested in my being there. But then when I would ask them, what do you have this alternative? They would go, well, that's old stuff and it doesn't really have that much effect. Like in England, there was Bach remedies.
A little Drew stuff.
France, there was all the aromatherapies. When I came back from France, I had all these things in customs. They wanted to know, what am I doing? Bringing back all these aerators, which I put throughout my medical office. And then I was always testing people. And then from Brazil, I brought back all these crystals because, they have the crystal caves down there. And you can't actually bring a whole cave back. So I was bringing back these big crystals to see if that would have any effect.
You have some amazing crystals at your office.
Yeah. And so the small point about all that, though, it wasn't something that Mrs. Rodriguez could do at home. I wanted every person to be their own doctor, to have your own access point, to be able to keep yourself not only healthy, but getting stronger every year. Because the problem with the way that our culture teaches you is that life goes like this. In the beginning, it's really great. Oh, good, it's a baby. I love him. It's so cute. And then you get to go like this. And then there's a stopping point. Then there's a peri-pause period. And then there's a decline. There's a decline period. And then as you decline, nobody wants to see you, so they put you away. They keep you out of vision because they don't want you to know that the end is near. And then people go, that was life. I'm telling you, that is not life. That's not the way life was meant to be. And that's why people are disgruntled about it. Like this one lady told me, who was a very erudite woman, that came to me in her 80s and said, listen, this whole thing about the golden years, there's nothing golden about them. It sucks. And I went, okay, let me show you these energy techniques, which I eventually found after working in Germany. In Germany, I worked with lasers and in I think electrical machines like the Reich machines. All this didn't happen in one day. It took 7 years of me traveling around the globe. And every time I would leave, my competition, as I'm sure in your business, every business, vice versa, they go, we're glad you're leaving. We're going to steal your whole business. No one's going to wait for you to come back. But they did. they all waited because they knew I was committed to the patients coming back and bringing back the latest stuff. And so I got to try all these things out, but none of them allowed them to individually burst forward to be able to be their own guru, their own doctor, their own advanced seer of their life plan to stay healthy, immune system-wise, get younger, get stronger, get smarter, and also make better decisions on who to have as far as people to work with, who to have as far as to marry, who to have as far as to date, who to have as far as make friends. All these things are important decisions in your life, which when you make the wrong decision, you have tremendous downs because of that. And long periods of people who go through stuff and people go, well, that's life. No, that's life as finally I got it put when I came back, the movie was made, and I'm not going to talk about my association with that movie at all, but the point is that the movie was made, The Matrix, which was dead on. The whole first one, I can tell you why every single scene is in there and why that scene is something you have something to learn from. There is something in the Matrix movie in each section that authenticates what you're up against. And
that first one was just a documentary.
Right. So where I finally found it was like after 160,000 miles around the globe, 7 years, I was in China and got to go to visit their grand master, who's a direct descendant from Lao Tzu. And if someone says, well, what does that mean, direct descendant? It means that Lao Tzu was never meaning to write a tome of information for everybody to learn. Why? Because he didn't think people could get it. So before he left town, which if you get one of his original books, it's not that big of a book, but it doesn't show his face. It shows his back and the back of a donkey, because it shows that this book was written directly from what he said as he was leaving town by students. And they wrote down everything that he said. And even to today, it still lives on, the yin-yang symbol. And he
invented the yin-yang
He
symbol.
and a bunch of other greats prior to him, who some people describe as the mystical history of China, okay, because the records aren't as clear. But true genius in that even Einstein and all the other people in quantum physics have attributed to him as saying, well, Lao Tzu, whether it was one person, two people, three people, whatever he was, whoever condensed all that into that one symbol, that it's either all going to go the way you want it to go, with maybe a little bit of resistance in life, a little spice, or life is going to be really losing or attempting to win, still losing, or never getting a chance, that there's actually two realities going on all the time. Now that, if I tell that to some people, they'll go, no, there's only one reality, and it sucks. Like that lady said to me. She says, life's just too hard, I have too many pains. And that's because people haven't learned these techniques, which I brought back that after I studied with the Grand Master on being able to utilize these techniques that Lao Tzu invented, which allow you to open the body. Oh, and before that, before I even met him, I still hadn't gotten what I wanted. I'd spent a couple of years in China working at the hospitals there, and I got an acupuncture certification and also herbology. And the herbology was just like in Harry Potter, when you see that guy who swings around inside that small room and has all these little boxes to pull out stuff to make potions with. Really, it was like that. Not a lot of cleanliness, but I got to work in the quote-unquote pharmacy of Harry Potter a long time ago and learn about herbology before it came out as a wonderful thing in supplements now. So I drank all that stuff because I wanted to see what it was like.
It does not taste good.
No, it does not taste good. But we were up at 5 a.m. and we had this huge window, which we kept open all the time, even in the middle of winter, just so you could keep blowing the smell out. And then, so I thought that I had gotten as far as I could get until finally I got to the Grand Master. But I really enjoyed the acupuncture. I thought it made sense. I enjoyed the technology of what it does for as a diagram of the body and how herbology works. That all makes sense. But what Lao Tzu discovered was something which way blew me away, which was when I was watching the Grand Master, he could treat people without even touching them. He could be at a distance of 5 feet and just drive energy from his fingers or from his palm, or even just think about it, and you could see things. I know you're not going to believe this right off the bat, but you could see wounds start to close right there.
Mhm.
Or you'll see a person who's completely flailing around, with epilepsy or something like that, and really they don't know what to do with the person. And the families, what they brought throughout the mountain, and he would just like that. And then all of a sudden, you could almost palpate this like pink energy field that would come around him up at the monastery. And then the person would go, and they'd be fine. And then they start talking normally, like what happened?
Wow.
As if it never was there, which means, just like Lao Tzu said, there's two realities at all times. There's the reality where it's not good. You have this consistent thing where you're continuously sucked into the negative, and every choice that you make seems to bring you down further.
Mhm.
So like following a bad stock in the stock market, and you keep doubling down and getting worse and worse till finally you've lost everything. Versus the good side, which is this one side where if you keep making win-win-win decisions, it's win for you, win for the other person, and win for the environment, then life is meant along with these vibrations, which Lao Tzu was the originator, along with the people that he worked with in those days, of the whole idea of quantum physics. And even Einstein refers to that, and other scientists have referred to it, that quantum physics is really the whole complement part of what the world's about. And now more and more people are getting the reports that, and even if you have never studied physics at all, at least one time in your life, you said, I think I should call Aunt Sarah. It's been a long time since I should call her. Nelson, you go toward your phone, you start to dial it, but it rings, he picks it up.
Oh, yeah.
It's Aunt Sarah. So you're going, how did that happen? Because if people are learning about, which Lao Tzu discovered 5,000 years ago, that physics is non-local.
That stuff happens to me every week.
Yeah, it's non-local.
Yeah.
So that means your impact is non-local. So if you're sitting there with a hand that has had problems to it, or some other situation that you think you're stuck with, you're not, if you start using these techniques that took me a long time to learn. And my goal in wanting to learn them was to bring them back so that each person could then use them themselves, so that you could be your own Lao Tzu, your own person to develop in each of, and you divide it up into 8 areas. And as long as you work on those eight areas called grade 8, each one of those, to some extent every day, you're going to blow yourself away with, which is how successful you're going to be. Plus, we always, if somebody comes in for treatment, we always take photos of you in the beginning, because after 2 or 3 months of doing the practices for 20 minutes a day, you look younger. Now, why do you look younger? Because beauty's from the inside. Lao Tzu discovered you had inside your body all these sensors that are throughout the whole body. They're tiny little sensors. And I know you, which is one of the things that we really got attracted to teach out a long time ago, when you start talking about, the mitochondria is where it's all at. I went, you're getting there. That's it. Those smiley face mitochondria are the sensors in a way, even though the real sensors are even smaller.
Yeah, they power the sensors.
Power the sensors. But the fact is you're getting that. Look outside in the universe right now. Everybody could just, you see there's stars, there's a moon, there's planets. As you're doing that, that's going on at the same time that you're here on planet Earth, but you ignore all that. You say, that doesn't have anything to do with me. That's a mistake. What if that's part of you? What if there's a universe out there? This is Lao Tzu talking. What if there's a universe out there, and there's also an entire as big universe inside? And then you'd go, wait a minute, I was born in the projects. This is my good nurse, Jerry, who I worked with 20 years. And when we used to have talks about this, and he finally got it, he said, yeah, you're right. You can do all kinds of magical things that are beyond one's expectations. And I said, well, you're doing them right now. And he said, I remember having a discussion over a surgery, because you're doing an operation, usually you talk to your surgical nurse. And so I said, well, you're doing it right now. I said, the fact that you're even standing here. He says, what do you mean if I'm standing here? I said, well, do you know that since you were born, even before you delivered, your heart was beating? And he goes, I've heard that. I said, you know, it beats at night when you're asleep. It doesn't take a break. It never rests. Do you know that it pretty much doesn't wear out? Except on rare occasions, and beats continuously. And then if you measured how many beats your heart beats in, say, 50 years, it's something like, 1.9 billion beats without ever stopping. Now, do you know any Mercedes or Rolls Royce or Maserati or any car that's ever been made using what's called the human part of human being to devise a piece of equipment that could do that? No. It's sort of like that's why I love the movie Look Up. I mean, Don't Look Up, whatever it was, because they showed at the end all the rockets were all going the wrong direction, and only a couple of them took off. Because human technology is not meant to be the size of who you really are. Human beings and technology, if you get the being part, then that means you've got a job to do down here. And your job to do down here is to first place be in awe that nobody's created a heart that can do that. And you can't do it, and yet you take it for granted. I would recommend, if people got nothing from this session, don't take it for granted. Don't get into the awe experience every morning as you look outside and say, it's sort of interesting. There's these 4 seasons on this planet, and I've been sort of living on it for a number of years. Maybe I've been grumbling, and maybe I've been happy or not, but there's been winter, fall, spring. But there's no other planet they've discovered that's a blue planet. There's no other planet that's set up with molten center and then this crust on top where we grow trees, and they have animal kingdom that's in its own ecosystem that was going on a long time before us. The dinosaurs lived here before us 160 million years. Okay. They were going up and down the freeway. So the point is, your access to what you really have a potential to accomplish in your own health and your own success has all been worked out through quantum physics and through Lao Tzu's program of doing these exercises each day, which allow you to open the sensors. And that's shocking for people because that's why we have a free session every morning and afternoon where people call in from around the world and they just talk about their miracles because people are thrilled by other people having successes using these energy techniques. And they say, if you can do it, I guess I can do it. Because we're all human beings.
Upgrade your health in 2025, starting with your vascular system. That's because it's the foundation for your heart and your brain function, and nitric oxide plays the most important role. It opens up your blood vessels, making sure that nutrients and oxygen reach exactly where you need them. It also opens up tiny capillaries in your brain, in your sexual organs, and in other systems throughout the body. Even if you're eating well and taking the right supplements, it's only going to work if your blood vessels can deliver. Otherwise, your body misses out on the benefits. And that's where Vasconox HP stands out. This formula delivers up to 24 hours of nitric oxide support with just 1 daily dose, and is backed by an open-label published study. This is a game changer because nitric oxide typically only lasts for milliseconds in your body. Ready to get better blood flow and elevate your health? Go to calroy.com/Dave to save.
You probably already purify your water and air, but what about your light? Light is one of the most important signals that you send to your body. But most of us spend time indoors under junk light that emits harsh flicker, EMFs, and unnatural spikes of blue light. These lights fail to do what all light should: help you see and feel your best. Chromolux changes that. Created in Finland over 60 years ago, the Chromolux Full Spectrum light bulb is the original neodymium glass light source. It's a unique non-LED light bulb that closely simulates sunlight. Unlike harsh artificial lighting that strains your eyes and dampens your spirit, Chromolux purifies dulling, yellowing frequencies of the visible light spectrum. Create a colorful, vibrant space you'll love to live, work, and play under. More vivid colors, better contrast. You won't just see better under this light, you'll feel better too. If you want to see and feel the difference that better light can make in your life, give Chromolux light bulbs a try. Go to healthlighting.com/Dave to save 10% on your order.
I want to go back to when you were in the monastery as a young surgeon.
Yeah.
There's a famous scene in Doctor Strange where his hand is broken, and then the master in Doctor Strange just heals his hand right there. Have you personally directly experienced something like that?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
More than once. One time on the side of a mountain, my hand got busted, so the fingers were busted. I went to the Grandmaster, and I said,
when you say busted, you're a surgeon, so these are actually broken.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were all.
Okay.
This wasn't a basketball hit. They were like this. So I said, I gave my hand to him, and I said, I want you to heal it. Okay. So he did. And he fixed it right there. He just went like this and like this, like this. And then it worked perfectly right away. And I was just amazed.
And that's never had problems with
Wait, that's not the end of the story.
Okay.
So then about a month later, he shows us another exercise where you're supposed to be able to take your fingers and be able to move them all the way back and touch your wrist. Okay.
All the way, that'd be hypermobility.
Yeah. And he was showing you how to use the energy would release your ability to do that. And so he then took one of my fingers like this to show the audience that it could be done. So he took my finger with the energy and turned it all the way back here to here.
So you took your finger back to touch your wrist.
Almost. And then it broke.
So you broke your finger right in front
Right in front of me, right in front of everybody.
And what did it feel like? It must have hurt.
Yes.
Oh my God.
So then he broke my finger, and then you have to realize I'd already been working with him for at least maybe 4 years, 5 years by that time. So I knew the Chinese system. I was not going to cry or make a big deal or showed no respect, but I knew and I didn't think the worst. I went, okay, we heal it, and in a nice way. And he says, no, you heal it now. You're ready. You're ready.
What did you do?
So he said, do it in front of this whole crowd.
Wow.
So I did the things that he had taught us, which was about applying energy all the way from the channel that exists all the way down through here, through here, through here, through here. And then slowly with my fingers, slowly without even touching it hard, the bone realigned. And then the swelling, which I was going to leave because I was happy enough that the finger was straight. He says, no, the people watching you, make the swelling go down. Because see, swelling is there because it needs to help the inflammation.
Right.
But if there isn't any more need for inflammation, the swelling can leave.
It's like a splint.
Yeah. So it doesn't need the splint anymore. So what you do is you direct the cells away, farther using the energy, which you can feel after a while if you do these practices. And that got it done.
That's incredible. The monastery where you learned, you've told me it's where Shaolin originated. Is that true?
Shaolin and Tai Chi, Qigong, all of them have a source, a root energy.
Okay.
And that's this.
That energy came from that monastery.
Came from that root. And he didn't stay in that monastery all the time. We traveled quite a bit. But it came from this discipline of Lao Tzu's that has to do with quantum physics. That it's here, it's not here. Just like a light wave, in quantum physics is either a dot or a wave, depending.
How do you know that monastery is 5,000 years old?
How do I know? One of the things that I know is true is that the history of some of the people that he worked with, or his predecessor, his master worked with, and his master's master worked with, he showed me some of those books. Wow. And they were actual pictures and like what we were doing. And no, I couldn't say that it was 5,000. It may have only been 1,000. But the point is,
you're saying when you saw the book, but what they told you there was 5,000.
Yeah, they said it was 5,000,
and they had a history of teachers and all that. So
okay, and there's information that's out of the whole Oriental culture that there's things like what we found with the Rosetta Stone. There's information that's come out of Orient that's 10,000 years old. So the origin on how to keep yourself healthy, which is what I want everybody to get, and how to have a long life and be stronger every day, not go down, is what they worked on and what has been the whole purpose of my bringing this back.
I would say the very oldest lineages of healing like that I know of are traditional Chinese medicine. You've got the bone culture, which is a precursor of Buddhism. And then you've got some of the ancient shamanic practices and the Aboriginal practices. And so those are just lost in history, but some of them go way back.
They go way, way back.
Yeah.
But the fact is that you're living on a planet that is the blue planet. And look at those telescope pictures from out in space. There's no other blue planet out there. And everybody keeps denying that, like, well, that doesn't matter. It does matter. If you have the best sports car that ever was made, I think that matters. if it's indestructible and it heals itself and it keeps going and it gets better every year, because look at all the fruits, all the vegetables, all the different types of birds. I mean, the whole panorama, the type of diversity that exists on this planet should be something you can access as like, wow, I can't do that. Can you make a bird? Can you make a hen? No, because you've got another job. Your job this lifetime is to learn to develop through these great 8 your own capacities of your prowess.
Is God real?
Yes.
What does Lao Tzu say about God?
He calls it the way, Wu Wei.
The Wu Wei.
Way. So God, Mother Nature, the universe, the power that's creating all this mass, the heart beating all this time without you having to do anything for it. The fact that you've got a hand that'll do all these things. The fact that bones go in every single position. I mean, nobody's ever been able to create that. And even with populations that we're aware of at 2,500 years, nobody's done anything, even Da Vinci. So I love Einstein's statement, says that anybody can't get that there's a supreme, beneficent creator and is not looking around on this planet about all the stuff that's happening. I mean, peaches in the summertime are pretty good. Did you think of that? Did you invent it? If you cut yourself at night, when you wake up in the morning, you expect that thing to heal by itself. Did you invent that? No. So why not partner with the force, like Yoda said? Use the force, Luke. Why not recognize that whole series is real in terms of that you can grow a tremendous ability to accomplish in 8 specific areas, which include your health. And people have heard about stories about people living very long time. My mother lived to be almost 100 and no drugs, nothing. But she used the practices.
You grew up as a Jewish doctor and you're doing this bizarre traditional Chinese medicine. How did it feel to almost change faiths? Or did you change faiths? How does that all work?
There's a source.
So Kabbalah and Lao Tzu, same source?
Same source. What's left of Athens, Greece? Parthenon with 2 statements. The truth will set you free. Know thyself. That's it. So know thyself. Who are you? So if everybody who's listening, if they ask themselves these 2 questions, who am I? You might recognize you've sort of limited who you are. You're on a special planet. You've got special abilities. And you know that at times, anytime you've ever hit a great golf shot or a great tennis shot or anything when you're in the zone, that's part of your magic that you're supposed to take the opportunity to develop into whatever you want to create this lifetime. So you really are way more powerful in your immune system and in your development system to live a longer, healthier, happier life in terms of relationships, in terms of making money, everything.
I want to teach people who are listening, or more to the point, I want you to teach people who are listening what the great 8 are. This is a framework for structuring your day and structuring your intent and your goals. And I know that you're giving this away. And this is stuff that until no one was allowed to take this out of the monastery. So, and it's energyforsuccess.com/Dave.
Yeah.
Guys, this isn't a sales thing. This is he's going to give you a meditation and he's going to give you these 8 things because I know Barry really well, and he's working for the good guys. Now, what are the great 8? Tell me about them.
Okay, so if you divided your total energy capacity, some of you know that you've read that in just the energy of one cell, if you could get all the atomic energy out of it, it'd be enough to light up a city. You've heard that. Okay, so if you really do hold all this energy, how do you access it? Well, you need to focus it in goals in 8 areas. Those 8 areas, of course, 8's a magic number in China anyway. One is in you getting younger, stronger, healthier, and feeling better each day. Now, did you get the key word there? Growing. So if we did a summary, an umbrella of what all 8 are about, they're all about that you're to grow each day, to grow more in your prowess each day, which not only in your being more physically flexible and stronger, but also in your ability to have financial abundance, ability to have relationships with your significant others. This whole thing about not being able to get along with your intimate friends and your parents and all that, that's all matrix. The matrix is all about, matrix only has 3 goals, which is to distract you, to think that that you need to control everything, which is not true, because you have the power to make things happen. So you really don't need to physically control everything. The other one is that things are against you, so why try? And the third thing is that nobody respects you or loves you, so you're alone. All that's baloney. It's not true. There's plenty of great people in this world, and there's plenty of people that have retained the level of the animal brain. Remember, we have an animal brain, and then on top of it is our human being brain. And if people decide that they want to stay animal, then they're left with the stuff that you've taught in 40 Years of Zen multiple times, which is that there's only 3 things to do. You want to tell them.
Dr. B, you've been to 40 Years of Zen, and we've talked a lot about biohacking stuff, and so I was really happy to be able to share the F words of biohacking that your body does before you can think. And a lot of people are stuck here.
Animal brain level.
Yeah.
Not the being.
I think it's actually in the tissues before it even gets all the way to the body.
Right.
And it's fear.
Right.
Run away from, kill or hide from scary things. It's food. Eat everything.
Eat everything's around, even if it's your friends.
Exactly. Why not? They're tasty.
Unless they even eat your friend.
Unless they're vegan, they're not very juicy. Ugh. And I have a story about that, but I won't get distracted. And then the third F word is, we'll call it fertility for the polite one, but it's reproduce the species at all costs. And then it's friend, and then it's forgiveness or evolution. And your body will do this in order unless you get stuck or you don't have enough energy. And it's cool because these line up a lot with some of the things that you teach, but it provides a scientific mechanism to think about, why does that always happen? And maybe it's not me. It's the hardware that I'm running around.
Good. Exactly. It's your hardware. You've got this animal brain, and your job this lifetime was to grow out of that. And you were given this incredible heart that's going to keep beating without you even having to figure it out why. The skin and blood vessels that heal themselves. Mm-hmm. So why you were set up with all this great equipment? Have you ever thought about that? I mean, were you just picked as because you're every other person who's on the planet gets it, so we're all equal, then what are you supposed to do with it?
A lot of people come to 40 Years of Zen, or they'll ask me, what's my purpose? Why am I here? What's my mission? What do you say to them?
When they come to Energy for Success, when I say, if I'm sending them to your program, I say one thing. If I say you're coming to Energy for Success, I say you have one job in life.
Yeah. Tell them what
you have.
When they go to Energy for Success.
One job. Mm-hmm. And you can put it at the end of your bed. How am I going to grow today? And you're going to grow in each of the 8. As long as you're growing, then you fit this planet. The universe has been expanding ever since you have come to the planet. The whole idea of expansion is what we call living movement. Once things stop moving, they're contracting, and we call that death. So if you want to be part of this planet, you need to be expanding in your prowess. How can I grow? And the way you grow is by learning these energy techniques that I have for people to either do physically, or for the people that want to do the guided breathing visualizations, which are actually in China, were called the fastest route to enlightenment. Mm-hmm. And so you don't have to sit on your buns for hours waiting for the lightning to hit. It's already hit. You look at you. You can really do it. It's just you didn't know how to gear up each one of these 8.
Barry, you taught me about the great 8, and my life is pretty good. So I want to go through each of these great 8, and I want you to tell me the short version of this that you've taught me. So here's the 8 in order, and then I'll ask about each one. The first one was relationships. Lao Tzu saying relationships matter. Financial abundance, because you got to have enough resources. Creativity, because that actually makes life worth living. Health, because not having health really sucks. Intelligence, because being a dumbass is also something that sucks. Then you have serendipity, which most people, what? That's a quality that Lao Tzu? And you taught me about serendipity on demand. And then one of my favorite words on earth, and one that is behind the whole biohacking movement, equanimity, which means the ability to hold your state no matter what happens in the world around you. And finally, flow states, the ability to have peak performance physically, mentally, and all of these things. So this is a framework that's different than the F words that I teach. And I think it's really valuable. Why do you teach people to set a goal for each one of these 8 every day?
Your balance in life requires that you put attention towards each of these 8 every day. If you imagined yourself as a platform with 8 engines, if you only put power into 2 of the engines, you're going to be one of these people who's like this all day. And think things look funny, whereas actually you'll be empowered if you work on all 8, even small increments count.
It's really interesting when I look at the grade 8 and I look at the areas where I've either written books or where I've focused my attention. Financial abundance is something that was a big deal for me when I was younger. And something I've worked on for a long time. I've made a bunch, lost a bunch, made a bunch, lost a bunch. Creativity, I've written a book on it. Health, kind of known for that. Intelligence, wrote a whole book on increasing intelligence. But then I get into these equanimity. I have a book coming up called Heavily Meditated, where I talk about that. But serendipity is one thing that I've noticed occasionally. But how the heck does serendipity make it on the list of the 8 most important things from a grandmaster of a major tradition? What the heck is serendipity?
Because at every moment, you don't have a clue how big you really are and how powerful you really are. And if you're just open to that goodness coming towards you, towards goals that maybe you even left in a bucket list in the past, you're going to start noticing, hey, all of a sudden this person called me. All of a sudden I got this offer. All of a sudden that I've got all green lights. And what takes the serendipity and brings it powerfully in front of you so it's happening is doing these practices each day for 20 minutes a day. That opens these sensors so you can pull in the vibrations that are all around us.
The only time I really see serendipity on demand for most people is at Burning Man, where it is well known. Serendipity just happens all the time. Like, how is that possible? But how would a normal person in the normal default world set a goal for serendipity today? What does a serendipity goal look like?
Serendipity goal is I'm going to go to the bookstore. This happened 2 weeks ago in Houston. I'm going to go to the bookstore and I want to get this book and I'm really interested in buying it. Okay. So I went to the bookstore and I talked to the head guy there and he says, that version it's not coming out yet. We don't have it. There's a space for it right over here. You'll see. So come back some other time and you'll see that the book you want is going to be coming out in a week or 2 and it'll be in that space. Okay. So I said, thank you. And then I walked away and then I did some of these practices. Okay. And then I had someone with me who can validate this. We looked back at that space and all of a sudden the book was in it. So we took the book to the guy and he said, how did you find this? He said, this is amazing. He said, that's great. We haven't even ordered them in yet. So then the same person who was with me, who can also document this, we went over to another side of the bookstore and I said, do you want to see it happen again? And she said, really? I said, yeah, just don't put any tension on it. This is all supposed to be the way life goes in serendipity. Just know that you want that exact same book to show up again today, now. She said, okay. So then I didn't have her, you don't stare at the space. She says, okay, look over there now. Tell me, is it there or not? And she went, ah. And so then we took another one was in that space. Only one book, because the plate was empty before on the bookshelf. She took it to the head guy and goes, what are you guys? You got some magic here to bring out these 2 books that we don't even have a shipment of yet. So who's running this planet? A power that's running your heart with all these beats your entire lifetime. And to access the hugeness of that, we call it serendipity.
One of the things that I learned, particularly from you, is that you forget a lot of the good stuff every day. And I've been teaching people about gratitude journals and journaling for 15 years. At 40 years of Zen, gratitude is a key part of the reset process. But at the end of every day, I say, write down 3 things you're grateful for. I've taught my kids to do that as a regular practice. And you said 3. What are you, an amateur? Tell me about gratitude and why we forget it.
Because you live in a culture that's got Mr. Smith in it, the Matrix, and his goal in life is to be the resistance that you're supposed to learn what your superpowers are, your prowess is, by overcoming him, because he doesn't have any power. He can only distract you. You have the real power. You can stop the bullets. But who you are and what you can do on this planet is not up for grabs. That's what the yin-yang symbol's all about, that Lao Tzu invented, that still exists today. It's either all win, 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 win. He's okay if you keep winning and winning, winning, as long as it's win, win, win for everybody, with a little black spot in there, which is the negativity, the resistance you have to overcome, or the spice of life, I call it.
In my upcoming book, Heavily Meditated,
Yeah.
I write about all these different techniques that work faster than just meditation. And I share some information from you, and I credit you in the book.
Thank you.
Of course, I do my best to always credit people. There are lots of people who will borrow ideas.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a few.
Oh, yeah.
So this is about the 4 categories of people. And this is some of the most important information that you could ever learn, especially if you're a teenager in your early 20s or you've ever been targeted by a narcissist. What are the 4 categories of people?
Type 1 is a win-win person. In other words, they couldn't, if they saw a wallet on the street, they would pick it up and find out who to give it back to. They don't want your money. They're win-win. A win-lose person, category 2, is what's called a temporary person who's learning to be win-win, and they make mistakes. But the way you can tell a category 2, which is a majority of the good people who are in the learning phase, is that when they make a mistake, they immediately say, oh, I'm sorry, and they make an amend.
As soon as they learned about it anyway.
Right. As soon as they find out, they make an amend, they fix it, and they go, look, thank you, I've learned something here. Because we're all on, this is learning planet. You're growing. What does growing mean? You're learning all the aspects of the great 8 so that you can manifest it. Then type 3 is the win-lose, but continuously. It's not going to change.
And they don't know that they're doing it.
No, the win-lose person who doesn't know that they're doing it, they actually will fight for saying, I'm right. These are the most righteous people you ever meet in your life. They're very righteous. They're like, I know the right answer. You're wrong. My party's better than yours. My color's better than yours. My history's better than yours. All of which is baloney. Since I've operated on all kinds of people all over the world, it's all the same inside.
Okay. And what are category 4s?
Category 4s are the people that are consciously win-lose. And you've seen people like these. Hitler was a person like that. In other words,
I've hired people like that.
Yeah. In other words, these people know that you're not aware that there's a game going on here, that you can be taken advantage of, and they will take advantage of you. And so sometimes the person will say, oh gosh, that person was one way and then they turned. Well, it was all set up in advance. And the way you can tell a category 4 person is if you catch them, they'll go, okay, you got me. And they'll say, I'll move on. We had a guy who sold x-ray machines, and when everybody found out that nobody made anything on the machine that we'd all invested in, he said, I'll move on to another place. You can't sue me.
Wow.
So category 1 is win-win all the time. Category 2 is win-win most of the time, and they get unconscious and go win-lose, but they immediately amend on it. They're really good-hearted. They want to learn. Category 3 is unconsciously win-lose. They're going to win and you're going to lose every single time. They will figure it out, but they'll say that they're righteous in doing that. Okay? And you can argue to the end of your days, you'll never succeed. You can tell these people a lot of times when you give them a whole list of instructions, if you're the boss, and at the very end, the person will always add something and change it and say, yeah, you said that, but that's not what I'm going to do. Then category 4 is win-lose, but they're premeditated. There's like Stalin who said, listen, one death is a problem, but 100,000 deaths is just a statistic for me. I don't care. Hitler said the same thing. I can take advantage of anybody, and they're just not expecting it. These people are malevolent. They're coming from the animal brain, which is top dog, gets to eat everybody.
Through working with you over the last decade or so, and just being friends, I brought some pretty interesting problems to you. And you always bring it back. And they're like, oh, is that a 3 or a 4? I'm like, damn it. So I had one executive. She was supposed to lose $4 billion because I had a lot of money in the bank. So I raised venture capital money. And December 1st, she goes, I might lose $5 million. And I said, well, as long as the company's still growing at 40%, that was our plan. So you're off a little bit. We can deal with that. End of December, she goes, oopsie, I lost $28 million. So she burned through 3 years of funding in 1 year, which meant every single week for the year, she'd been lying to me and the board to our face. And I looked at her and I said, how the hell could you do that? She goes, I don't know. I don't fail, so it couldn't have been my fault. Almost a direct quote. And the reason was she couldn't see herself failing. These people are blind to what's happening. And the worst thing of all is when we fired her, she looked me right in the eye and she said, you should give me more stock options. And I was like, what is going on here?
Massive unconsciousness.
And to this day, that person's out there now when she's looking for a job, she says that I wasn't at the company when she was there. And in her mind, I think it's true. And this is, someone with a great CV. And I had another employee, more junior, as a salesperson. She gave away $1 million worth of inventory and logged in to approve her own deals. So she got an incredible commission. And when we fired her for stealing, which is what that is, to this very day, she walks around going, it was Dave's fault. He was mean. Like, okay. Right. So I used to get pissed off about this. And now I recognize the pattern. And when someone comes into the company, I tell them during their job interview, like, we have these things. And if you are category 3, I'm probably not going to see it. You're hard to spot, but we have a 90-day policy. And our record is 60 days to spot a category 3, and they are out. And they're out without any ceremony. And that's how we keep the culture clean. And what's really funny? The people who are category 3, they don't know they're category 3.
That's right.
They're narcissists, but some little voice in the head goes, they might find out about my dirty secret. So they just magically don't show up. They don't take the job. And I had...
Very good, Dave.
And I had 2 category 4s.
Oh, you
I
did?
had one was one was
yeah,
a investor.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, this guy worked on taking Bulletproof down. And I had another one who tried to steal one of my companies, who's a former family member. Right. And when I sued and I saw the premeditated stuff, exactly like you're saying, they planned it ahead of time. This was set up like a deck of cards. And you say, oh, so 2 months ago you changed contracts and all that. And so I used to get really pissed off and all that. But you really helped me to realize that maybe I was being stupid, because I just thought, well, if I do the right thing and you do the right thing, and if our interests are aligned, so we're both win-win, then it's going to work. And that's how I set up all my things. And when I realized, even when I do that, if you're dealing with a 3 or especially a 4, they will find a way to make it so that I lose and they win more.
Yes.
Just because they're spiteful dicks.
Yes.
True?
True, to the extent that if you could just look at it anatomically.
Yeah.
Their brain, the animal part of the brain, is what's predominant. The other part, the human being part of the brain, is human only if they look human. But what their operating system is animal. And animal doesn't, the dog's going to get on your favorite couch unless you train him not to and put up rules. The dog's going to pee on the floor. And they have that kind of brain. They'll eat it or fight with it. And they're that way. And you'd love to convince them, why can't we all get along? John Lennon.
It's like,
they say it here.
They can't remember it.
They don't have that part. They don't have the being part of the brain. They've got the human, but not the being.
It's really weird. And when people first come across it, this is what a narcissist does. When you first come across it, you're like, this can't really be. Because if you're not one, it's not your lens on reality. So your teachings from Energy for Success really helped me to understand that. And then I went and I did a lot of the 40 years of Zen stuff on deep resetting and forgiving, so I don't walk around holding a grudge for these people. Can you talk about what 40 years of Zen did when you went? Because you're a guru. And a lot of people are like, David, 40 years of Zen is BS.
No,
and
who says that?
Oh, a lot of people said, like, it can't be, it's not possible to do decades of meditation, all that. You're already a meditation master, but it did a few things for you. Are you up for talking about that?
Yes. I don't think there was a moment at 40 years of Zen that I didn't adore. What the opportunity of 40 years of Zen is, one, the location you give it in is one that if you can't feel the vibrations of the nature and all that's around you supporting you to get into the equanimity state, then you're missing the point. And then you add on the trying to set on the electrodes so people can get that, hey, the way you normally feel is not the way you normally have to feel. And so once the person can recognize, hey, I can go around and feel great, even though it's 7 o'clock at night, we've been up since 6 in the morning and eating this somewhat okay food. The point is that in 40 years of Zen, you're giving them an opening into what I'm telling them. If they did Energy for Success practices just 20 minutes a day, take this free gift that we're going to be giving them, download it, and then go. If you want to go on further, we have an audio version, video version, and physical version so that you can do it anywhere. I have people who do it before they go in the courtroom because it allows you to keep winning. Lao Tzu's telling you physics is set up so that you can win, 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 win. You can set it up so that Aunt Sarah will pick up the phone 100 miles away when you call her and you've got a flat tire. You've had experiences like that. They're meant to be, but your alignment of your energy fields is what people don't know they can do. And the way to do that is to do these practices, and then you'll start to recognize, just like if anyone's ever hit a home run or ever hit a baseball well or a tennis ball, it's almost like you're not even there. You don't even hear the sound. It's and that's being in the flow state. That's what we're supposed to be in all the time. We're supposed to grow into that state and make this a better world. No kidding. So I don't care if it's the Democratic Party, Republican Party, Independent Party, whatever it is, it's supposed to be a world where we all contribute to each other with no one left out. Everybody's included. And why? Because you have the ability inside. It's just, this is the sad part. For people who say, well, I can't because I was raised this way, then your own decisions are using your own energy to push down your ability to grow. So it's really, we don't have a choice. It's either grow or suffer. And I don't like the suffering. That's why in medicine, when I was running around all the time, I said, people have got to find a way to take care of themselves, to keep themselves healthy so we don't have to go through a lot of the stuff that you've seen happen in the past 5 years with people that's coming out now, that even in the medical establishment that they were making recommendations for what was supposedly healthy wasn't verified.
But what's interesting is that,
You know what I'm referring to.
well, there's this guy whose name rhymes with Ouchie, and for 30 years, he has been creating pandemics and making money from them, starting with the AIDS epidemic where he killed 300,000 people. And we just became aware of that 5 years ago. Like this is not a good human being. And if I had to guess, I'm sort of getting a category 4 signal from this guy because he looks you in the eye and he's making billions of dollars and he's putting people on ventilators, and it's just not okay.
And it doesn't faze them.
Yeah.
You need to know it doesn't faze the animal brain. Animal brain goes, that's life. That's animal life. That's not human being life. And the part that I know, you asked me earlier, do you believe in God? I'm not interested in whether a person has a deity or someone that they're holding out as God. But if you're going to deny this a gigantic universe that you've had nothing to do with creating, but you have the process of learning how it got created and how you can participate in it as being a part of the original source through these practices, then you're ignoring your opportunity of being here, which means if you believe or don't believe in reincarnation, your next chance won't be at as high a level at this chance because you blew it at this chance. It's sort of like you go through first grade as many times as you need to go through it until you get to second grade and then third grade. So it's learning planet. And what's fun is that every time we learn, we benefit everybody.
So you believe in reincarnation?
Yeah.
Do you remember your past lives?
Some.
I
didn't work a lot with it. Some people think it's fascinating, but to me, what's more fascinating is you got to this point on the mountain. It's like one time, remember I told you the tests that they put me through to be able to make it to this stage were just, when I look back on them, they were just unbelievable. One of them was I had to do free climbing, which wasn't even a word back then. Yeah. But I had to climb these mountains without any belay, without any rope or anything. And that's when I was slipping all over the place. And I had to use the energy to be able to get up there and do that. So if you have that capacity to excel in everything, pulling in this energy in each one of these 8, that's your job. And if you want to say, no, that's not my job, I want to be remain victimized, then that's what you'll get. And you'll keep yourself down. You'll use your own energy against yourself. And that's why it works so fast. That's why the meditations, as I said, it's the fastest route to enlightenment. The guided breathing visualizations that we have for people, they all say, I feel great. I feel wonderful. And I say, can I feel like this all the time? I go, better. Better. You can have a better life to look forward to, but not because you're inventing an imaginary life. It's because it's supposed to be that way, or learn the lesson. What are you doing? Well, I was trusting my dog was going to come to me from the pound. That's called animal brain. And he was going to be perfect from the very beginning. And when you bring the dog trainer out, he'll say, your dog doesn't need any help. You, the master, need help. Same thing with being a human being. If you want to be a human being, then you, the master of the being state, need to learn these qualities Lao Tzu figured out that will allow you to excel in your growth of your soul. So when you say, do I believe in reincarnation? I believe that really every person has a soul, and that every person's soul gets to continue to manifest in the world in a positive way, or else you get a lesson. And the lesson is usually training.
So it's kind of a karma-like view of things.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do souls come from?
People understand holograms.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take a small piece of hologram, you blow it up, what do you get? The whole thing, the source, right? So really, it's not that hard of a jump to say that the original source energy that's larger than you can imagine, which is a very good term to remember. Say, I'm going to create a better success today than I could even imagine. Then what would that be like? Well, I don't know, everybody I went to would like open the door for me, and they would all give me extra benefits. And I've shown people that you can set up a day like that, and it will turn out that way. Really? I'm not kidding. Wow. And so I want people to get the opportunity life is. I was in Norway, and I needed to get to a boat, and it was sort of dark, and this guy was coming out of his building, and I said, do you know how to get out to boat number 47? And he goes, it's a bit of a way down there. He said, here, I'm locking up my store. I'll take you there. And I went, no, you don't have to take me. I'll go myself. He says, no, I'll be happy to take you. So why did he do that? Because his field matched my field, which is, I'm win-win. If you're kind enough to take me, I'll be loving and appreciative of it, tip you, whatever it takes. And you got that I'm kindred spirits. So we both bounced off each other and felt better. And that's when you start to get the miracles that they go, well, today's your birthday at the restaurant. You get it. It's a free meal. You have so many opportunities each day to grow and become stronger and more able than you can ever imagine. And people don't get to see that because they don't make goals each day. If you make a goal that the opportunity of focus, the energy flows where your focus goes. And what these practices allow you to do is to focus your energy. And you're going to say, what energy? Okay, the energy you get from nutrition, the energy you get from all the things that you market. But believe it or not, all of this around you, this space, is energy. Mm-hmm. It's not only just waves coming from, Salesforce.com or from some upward up job or something like that. There's a million things in the space that are usable energy that you get to pull in. And then just like Jet Li, who was someone I met in the monastery, allows you to be super fast and also super powerful at any age.
Wow. Barry, you've done something pretty incredible in taking a set of teachings that have been locked away from the world for 5,000 years, we think, and then getting permission from the masters to teach them to Westerners, and then putting them online in videos and in written stuff. I think it's kind of incredible because there's a lot of ego in modern science. I'm a huge fan of modern science. It helps us understand and predict and tell stories and get data. And sometimes it gets full of itself and says, well, that can't happen, therefore it didn't happen. And I find you to be a credible guy. We've known each other pretty well for a very long time. I've done your work. I've seen stuff that just doesn't make any sense if you believe the world is only one certain way versus it's in multiple ways. What I want you to do now is go to energyforsuccess.com/Dave. And I'm not getting paid on this. You don't have to enter your credit card number. This is a gift for you from Dr. Barry. And you're going to go there and they're going to get 3 things. What do they get, Barry?
The grade 8, look at, a template on achieving your goals, and a rapid transformational vibrational technique, which is the fastest route to meditation and enlightenment.
So it's a gift. I've got no dog in this fight. This stuff has been really beneficial for me. And Dr. B, everything he said about his experiences, to the very best of my knowledge, and I've known very, very well, this is all real. And there are things you can do that you don't think you can do. So energyforsuccess.com/Dave. Just sign up, and I want you to do it for 30 days. Just every day. And if you want to use a trick from Smarter Not Harder, tell your partner or a good friend that you're going to do it for 30 days so they can give you a hard time if you don't, and you'll actually do it and your ego won't get in the way. Regardless. energyforsuccess.com/Dave. It's a gift. This is worth it, and the world needs it right now. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. B, for bringing this stuff out of the monastery.
It's completely my honor. And I wish everybody the best year of their life starting now.
Beautiful. If you like today's episode, you know what to do. I always appreciate a good review or pick up some Danger Coffee, or go to energyforsuccess.com/Dave and do this thing for 30 days and send me a note and just say, okay, you were right, because I am.
See you next time on the Human Upgrade Podcast.